Hundreds of billions of dollars have now flowed into the Islamo-Nazi regime in Tehran as a result of what Biden has done. It looks like he's going to cut a deal. He's going to cut Congress out, which is absolutely shocking. Again, another unconstitutional, impeachable act. But nobody will view it that way. But it ought to be. It's really horrendous. And the Iranians are going to have nuclear weapons. So bad is this that all sides of the political spectrum in Israel, and they have far lefties in there too, and the current government is left center, they're appalled by this. The so-called moderate Gulf Arab states are shocked by this. And some of the Muslim countries in North Africa, like Morocco, a fairly moderate country, they're shocked by this. And you hear almost nothing about this. I mean, honestly, folks, let's say Joe Biden is gone in 2024. Do you see the damage he's done to our country and the damage he's done to our institutions and the damage he's done to our allies and the strength that he's created among our enemies? It's just unbelievable what's going on here. And so Iran has developed these advanced drones. Now, how did they do it? Well, they stole it from us. We have drones from time to time that crash. You remember a few years back, one of the most advanced. And so they took it and they took it apart. And this was one of the great fears. And they rejiggered it. And this is what they have. And now they're going to provide them, it looks like, to the Russians to kill as many Ukrainian citizens as possible. Let's take a look. Go.
Russia doesn't have many friends, but Iran is one of them. And now Moscow has received its first shipment of Iranian combat drones for the Russians' use in the war in Ukraine.
Stop 1 second. I know, but it's the message. Go ahead.
That's according to U.S. officials. Iran recently held military exercises to show off what their drones can do. This is video of the drills. Russia's apparently planning to import hundreds of these Iranian drones. But U.S. officials say the initial batch has been plagued with technical problems and that the drones aren't performing as well directed. Military and analysts say Iran has built up a significant drone fleet, including kamikaze varieties, that could give Russian troops a much-needed boost in their struggling invasion.
It seems like Iran continues its mission to have all kinds of allies that are not exactly poster children for democracies and human rights. I mean, Iran, and through Russia as well, they've been extending their influence in countries like Venezuela, like Cuba, Ecuador, Nicaragua. I mean, Iran and Venezuela are expected to conduct military drills any day now in Venezuela. What do you make of what Iran is doing?
Well, you know, Iran has been building up its military capability, not just, of course, the headline-grabbing nuclear program that they have and their missile program to launch those nuclear weapons, but they've been building these capable drones, and now they're running around the world selling them to any country that's interested in buying them. And it does really start to change the calculation for the United States and other countries who might come up against and are indeed
Really? And what if Iran gets nuclear weapons under this nut job who's in the Oval Office right now? Think they'll be handing out that technology like lollipops too to their friends and allies? Maybe they'll even give them to terrorist groups. That's how serious this is, ladies and gentlemen. When you hear people say, oh my goodness, they're 10,000 miles away or 7,000 miles away, how can they hurt us? Are you kidding me? These enemies, they can all hurt us. Who do you think their greatest enemy is? It's us. Go ahead.
Iranian friends and proxies. We in the U.S. forces have actually been targeted by the Iranians in Syria. Recent 15th, there were some strikes against U.S. forces. Now, most of the analysis seems to point to the Syrians and, well, actually the Iranians and the Syrians wanting to stop the Israelis from strikes they've been conducting in Syria by targeting the U.S. So they're trying to get us to put pressure on our Israeli allies to stop targeting Syria. That's not going to happen. And unfortunately, Iran's entry into the Ukrainian conflict, helping Russia, is also going to complicate matters for the United States.
Oh, matters are getting very complicated. There's only going to be one way now to stop Iran. It's going to be to hit them militarily. Well, people will say, well, let Israel do that. Israel's going to suffer enormous damages. I mean, their population centers are few and far between. Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, some other mid-sized cities, and so forth. Tel Aviv is an advanced, large city, several million people, and it's certainly within striking distance. And this is what Israel knows, and this is why they say they cannot allow that regime to get nuclear weapons. And the distance between Iran and Israel is very, very limited. In other words, even though they're not next to each other, when you have these jets that going Mach whatever they're going, it doesn't take much. And certainly when it comes to a nuclear missile. And so this is a big deal. This is a big problem for the Israelis and certain Arab countries, including the Saudis. And you could be sure that these billionaire monarchs in the Middle East, if Iran gets a nuke, they're going to need nukes. And Iran, I don't think, is going to be so careful to whom they give their technology and to whom they give their weapons. And once you have the knowledge to build one nuclear weapon, you have the knowledge to build 1,000 of them. How do you take that knowledge away from a country? You don't.
For more, sign up for Levin TV.